Anthony can answer the questions for you, we'll be happy to do that. Anthony, are you sharing your screen?
I am.
So for the purposes of this webinar, we're actually not going to go into PowerPoint show mode because we're going to be popping in and out of the different slides to show you actually the functionality versus just sort of talk to you about it from within a PowerPoint. We'll actually be doing live demos today. Anthony, click on the next slide. So to start out, I just wanted to let you know and actually thank you, because I'm sure all of you on the call today are part of those 2 billion forms that have been submitted by our customers. And that's billion with a B, something doForms is very, very proud of today. We're sending out over 4 million emails a day on behalf of our customers submitting forms. We're collecting about 30 gigabytes of data each day, and we're up to probably about 40 terabytes of data in storage. We're also used on every continent and in almost every country in the world. So doForms today is proven worldwide. Click on the next slide, Anthony. So let me tell you about what you're going to see today, because it's very exciting, and I think as we go through it, you'll realize that doForms is now a very powerful workflow platform and a solution as much as it is a form building tool and a method for data collection. In the past, in order to use doForms, you basically were required to purchase a mobile license, and then you could send effectively doForms to people who had mobile licenses. Well, based on demand from our customer, many of our customers love the idea of being able to build a form, the simplicity of building a form, and they wanted to be able to extend forms beyond just their mobile users. So the first problem that we had to solve was a financial problem of, obviously not every customer is going to want to buy a license for every single person that they may want to send a form to in the world. So we did that by creating the doForms credit model. And we'll explain that in a little more detail at the end as far as some of the pricing and the credit packages you can purchase. But basically, now instead of having to buy a license for everybody, you can basically use credits to email forms to those people. It still makes great sense to buy the licenses for your own employees. That's still the most economical way to purchase doForms. So if you have, let's say, 10 employees that are using doForms, stick with the license model. But if you have, let's say, 30 or 40 other people that you want to include in, you can now do that very, very affordably. So we're going to start out, and we're going to talk to you today about a couple of products. One is dispatch to email. One is forward to email. One is a product we're calling fill and send. One is a product we're calling form links. We're going to show you how you can embed your forms right into your websites. And we're going to show you how you can use credits to build consolidated reports of all your incoming data and then schedule them to email to your management team and to your customers and vendors and suppliers as you see fit. So like I said, today's going to be a very interactive presentation. Once again, please feel free to throw out questions as we go through it. If I can answer them, I will as we go through the presentation. Otherwise, any questions you do ask, we'll make sure we get back to you. Anthony, click on this dispatch to email. Let me explain a little bit to you what this means, and then we'll actually do a live demo. So today we have the ability to, and I'm not sure if all of you know about it or not, but we now have our doForms dispatch scheduler, which allows you to place work into a calendar. And Anthony will be demonstrating the doForms scheduler for you in a few seconds. And one of the options you have through the doForms scheduler is to pick either I want to send a form to a mobile user or to a email address. In Dispatch, you can actually maintain an address book, and you will be able to dispatch a form to one of your email addresses. And the reason that this becomes powerful is many of our customers, let's say you have a delivery company and you do deliveries all week long and your 10 drivers are more than enough to fill the demand all week long. But then you have a situation where on Saturdays, you have a very high demand for delivery and you need to hire multiple third-party contractors to complete that work. Well, you have two options. One is you can get those third-party contractors licenses to doForms, or you could just use the fact that they all have email addresses and mobile devices, and you could actually email them their jobs. Now, the nice thing about dispatch to email is, which you'll see when we get into it, is it will actually start functioning just like a mobile user once they open the attachment in their email. So Anthony, go ahead and start. So what you have on the screen right now is the doForms scheduler. and you'll see that Anthony is one of the people listed. That's actually his mobile license under main, but he's also has himself listed as an email person, and you'll see that it lists his email address. Now, on this screen, you'll see that there's color coding, and Anthony, click the old jobs. As your jobs are being emailed, the status will be in purple, light purple. As the jobs are open, you'll see the status changing. If you're using a mobile device, you'll actually see it as different status that the mobile device received your job. As they complete work or reject work, it'll change colors, and they could even send custom statuses right from within your form. So it's a very interactive screen. We're going to try to show you. Unfortunately, it's going to flip-flop between showing you the email that's being dispatched back to the thing, so you won't be able to necessarily see it in real life. But you'll get to, as we come back to the schedule screen, you'll see that the colors have already changed. So Anthony, go ahead and do a dispatch. And you'll see he has the option up top to pick email. So if he picks email, what's going to happen is he's going to be able to put in an email address. He can also pick that from his address book. So he'll pick himself, let's say, from his address book, just so we can show you the email coming into his desktop. And he can put in an email subject line and an email body. And there's a number of different settings where you could have the email subject line automatically default to a particular record name or to a particular statement you want to make. So the settings allow you by form to set specific settings on how you want to configure that form. So you see here you could have a form name, the record name, you could have a default that would show up each time for your subject, and you could also use a custom by typing in right on your dispatch. Go back out of here, Anthony. So what you'll see with this is you have the ability to pick your project, pick your form. You can also default which form you want to have open each time, so you don't have to pick a project and form each time. You could pick a start time, a duration, let's say an hour and 30 minutes for this particular job. And you have the option as well to schedule this job for the future, or you have the option to repeat. So if you, let's say, we're cleaning a pool every Monday, and you had to go back to the same house, and you want Joe to go back to the same house every Monday, you could have that job repeat every Monday. Now, Anthony, go ahead and just put in the proposed time, the work order number, and just pick the company name. That's fine. So now go ahead and send this dispatch. Now, you'll see that you have the option of sending it now or on the schedule date. So that's up to you. If you had scheduled this into the future, let's say for next Tuesday, and you didn't want them to see this job until next Tuesday, you would just pick scheduled. Otherwise, in this case, we'll just pick now. And what will happen here is you'll see that the job is sent, and you'll see that the job has been added for 4 o'clock for an hour and a half. And if you look down at the bottom, you'll see that that job has been emailed in the history. So we'll go through and we'll show you the history. So Anthony just received the email, and he's going to move that over so that you see it on the screen. And in this particular case, we're just showing you a test message and a link. But when you set up settings, you can actually put an icon in your test message. There's a number of different things you can do to configure how the email is sent to your person in the field. In this particular case, we're just showing you that it's a link. So go ahead and click on that link, Anthony, and you'll see that right from Anthony's email account, it opens up a doForm. So the way this is working right now is we just debited a credit from within your account to process this email. And if you look at the scheduler right now, 2 things have happened. One is Anthony changed colors. That HVAC service order is now dark purple versus light purple, and the status is open. Go ahead and hit the history of that job, Anthony. And you'll see that he now has, the email was sent at 11:08 and it was opened at 11:09. So go into that, let's say put some information in, special instructions, maybe a signature. Just go ahead and submit that. Jump back to the other screen. And now you'll see that Anthony's job has changed to green, which is the status for completed. And if he goes ahead and clicks on that job, you'll see that it will open up his form, and all the information that he typed in when it was an email will be presented to the dispatcher as you go along. So there's all your information. He picked a ladder, he picked a chainsaw, he picked a job is complete. So very easily we were able to dispatch this to an email address, close that and go to the history, Anthony. And you'll see now that the history shows 1108, 1109, and it was completed on 1110. So with doForms now, you're no longer restricted to only sending dispatch to people that you pay for mobile licenses for. You can now dispatch literally anybody in the world that has an email address and access to the internet. So if you guys have any questions on that, feel free to ask the questions through the chat window, or feel free to contact me or Anthony or any one of our mobile software consultants, and they will be more than happy to show you how to start to use dispatch to email. Let's move on now to forward to email. This is not actually going to be a live demo because it's a little hard to do that while we're on the webinar, but I'll explain it to you. So picture that you have the ability to email or dispatch your employee on a mobile device. So you have a traditional mobile license of doForms. You dispatch Joe, I need you to go to Mrs. Smith's house and fix an appliance. Joe goes there and he looks at the appliance and determines that it's going to require a new motor and a new winding and a new computer board, and that's going to cost $670. Well, he could put all of that information into his form and then actually forward the form to an email address, which would be his customer. His customer would then open the email. They could effectively approve the form by signing the form. And in our forward feature, there's actually the ability to do a return to sender. So as soon as she hits the submit button, that form would be returned right back to Joe, your mobile employee in the field, who would now have the authority to effectively finish the job because he has signature sign off by the employee. So we have a few questions. Is there a template for the dispatch included in the forms? So we do give you, as one of your sample forms, the work order form, and you're more than free to use that. You're more than free to modify that any way you want, and you can also contact us for help, and we'd be more than happy to help set you up with an exact template or to help you modify your existing form to work very well in that environment. Is the dispatch history only available for forms that are scheduled? Today, the history is part of the schedule process. We are working as just to everybody who's a doForms user. One of the next generations in the very near future of doForms will start to manage the history of every form because we want to be able to show you when it was forwarded, where it was sent to, who has it, is it being retrieved, is it being locked. There's a number of features that we'll be adding to doForms in the next generation that will give you a very, very specific history log of what's happening to each form. And that's coming about because we're adding all this great functionality with forwards and retrieves and dispatches and the works. One more. What does it say? Is dispatch to email, can form be stopped and restarted? If you dispatch an email to somebody and they're on the browser mode, they cannot necessarily close it and reopen it. They're in that mode in the browser. Once they actually finish that form, it's to be sent. So what you would do is you could put the job information, let's say, in the email to them as part of the record name so they know where to go, and they wouldn't start that job until they got to the dispatcher. That's a functionality of the browser version of doForms.
One more.
Okay.
Is it correct that dispatch and dispatch scheduler does not share the same information? So if you start your form in the scheduler view, it will also be copied over to the regular dispatch view. But if you do not have the scheduler and you're using the old dispatch, those forms will not be plotted on your schedule map for the day or for the week or whatever view you're looking at. So if you are a scheduler customer and you're creating jobs in the scheduler view with the calendar view and the status updates and all of those good things, they will also be copied into if you went to the regular dispatch screen, but it doesn't go the other way. If you start in regular dispatch, they will not be plotted on your map for you.
Just so everybody knows too, in an upcoming version of Dispatch Scheduler, we are going to be combining both those technologies together so that you would have unscheduled jobs available to you through the scheduler. Also the ability to have unassigned jobs that you could put in queue and then effectively assign them to a technician maybe closer to the day where those jobs are due. So there are definitely a number of different features that we're planning to add. In addition to that, doForms responds to your feedback. doForms is a product that's basically been built by our customers at this point. We get a lot of accolades on how doForms, really solves a lot of problems, and the reason that it does that is because we really take your input. So feel free and don't hesitate to go on doForms feedback and give us information on the features that you'd like to see. We can't always turn them around overnight, but many of your features make it into, or maybe much of your feedback makes it into the next generation product whenever possible. Let's go down to fill and send. Yep, fill and send. So for those of you who...
Finish on forward to email a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we kind of did finish on forward to email because basically what it's allowing you to do is forward to an email address. So effectively, two things we added. One was the forward to email, and the other was return to sender. So we had a customer that basically asked us to include the functionality for return to sender. One of the things that Anthony wanted me to highlight during this section was that because the browser is considered the web app and the mobile is considered the mobile app, when you're creating restrictions, hides, read-only, required fields, you could actually set those things differently. So if you were to forward, let's say, your form to a customer as an email, you could actually make all of the fields in that form read-only except for, let's say, the signature so that they couldn't actually change anything. And then when they return it back to you, you're following all the restrictions and guidelines of the mobile user. So very powerful features of managing how, not only how your data moves back and forth, but we're also, remember, in forward, we're managing things like suppressing emails so that you don't necessarily send an email to the customer before the completed email. So when you're forwarding that message to the customer and getting it back, that's not going to generate the email. You have the option of suppressing those emails on the forward. So there's a lot of features built into the forward to help you be able to utilize this feature very effectively. Let's talk about fill and send. Fill and send it's sort of like dispatch to email, only without the scheduler, without a lot of the, the structure around dispatching. But the reason fill and send is such an important product today is if any of you have ever sent, let's say, an important proposal, estimate, invoice, quotation to a customer, and then, maybe you could ask for a read receipt or a delivery receipt, but the best you're going to know is that, that they received the email and that they opened it. You'll have no way of knowing that they actually opened the attachment, your Excel document, your PDF, or your Word document. So the first thing that happens with fill and send is it obviously allows you to open up a form and fill it out. So as an example, if you have an order form, you could open up that order form, put in their name, put in the 10, they want 10 of these and 5 of those, have all the prices set, and then you email that customer the order form for them to basically finish filling out and send back to you. All right. So here's the things that are different between, let's say, the standard put an attachment into an email. The first thing that happens is once you do a fill and send job, it goes into your queue. So that's now a managed job. The next thing that happens is it has marked with a status basically of emailed. And as soon as your customer gets that email and they open it, your job changes to opened. So something that your PDF can't let you know that they opened it, your Word doc, your Excel doc, but with doForms, you'll get to know that they opened it. One of the next generation things we're going to be adding to this is actually how long they're in it. We don't have that today, but it is planned for the future. So now let's talk about what makes it different. They're in this form, and they can actually sign it right in the form using their mouse, using their touch screen, so they don't have a need to now print it, sign it, scan it. And they also don't have a need to email it back to you. All they have to do is hit the button at the bottom of the form, and it comes right back to you. And it actually takes away the form from them at that point, so they can't forward that form to anybody else. As soon as they complete that form, it's gone for them, and it's back to you. You now maintain ownership of that form. Now, let's talk about the other things that make the fill and send powerful. If you send somebody a PDF or an Excel document or a Word document, when that form comes back in, it's coming in as an email, so it loses sort of the chain. Well, your status is going to change to completed now on the doForms side, and you're going to be able to open it and follow the status of that transaction. But a couple of other things are going to happen. No PDF email, no PDF Word document, Excel document, no attachment in an email is going to be able to automatically email a copy of itself to your customer, is going to be able to email a copy of itself to your accounting department or your warehouse to fulfill the order. So once that PDF or Excel email comes back in, it's basically dead until a person takes an initiative. When you use fill and send, as soon as that email comes back in, you get to use all the power of doForms, so all of your automated emails kick off. If you're a sync and save customer or a web services customer, you can take that information right from your form and automatically update your QuickBooks or your accounting system. You can move that information automatically into your order processing system. So with doForms fill and send, it takes away all the work associated to basically managing your customer through email, and it lets you automate all the work of sending invoices out to your customer. One of the nice things about fill and send and form links for that matter is we're about to release in the next 24 hours our support for ProPay, which is the ability to accept credit card payments. With ProPay, you'll actually be able to accept credit card payments both in your form and on your mobile device. So if you do it on your mobile device, you sign up to a ProPay account, you get a merchant account, and they provide you with a card swipe. When you do that in your form and you email it to somebody and they click pay, it opens up a payment window and allows them to put their credit card information in. So if you're sending somebody, let's say, an order form, you can now with doForms submit a complete credit card payment right into your order form as well. Let's see, we have a question here. Fill and sign, does it integrate with QuickBooks, or is there a way to use a QuickBooks form in it without having to manually enter the data again? So the answer to that question is absolutely. When your form comes back in, it's completed, Sync and Save could pull that form down, your invoice, and populate QuickBooks, just the way it would work as if it was a regular form. Then you said, is the signature a legal signature like when you use DocuSign? We're actually challenging the fact that today DocuSign doesn't own the source document. They're just another way to sign for a particular document. doForms actually knows who it's being sent to. It monitors the document. It removes the document from their control once they actually sign it. And we actually have information on the IP address and everything that they use to do that. So we actually believe today that we are more secure than DocuSign, and we have not been challenged on that. We have a number of DocuSign customers that have converted to doForms. It's not like there's a government signature authority that you can get certification for, but we have followed all the guidelines to ensure that there's security. The other thing that's important to know is like you take away the allow edits so that people, once they sign it, they can't go back in and change that signature. They can't change it on the back end, so we can secure that signature as a digital signature all the way through the process. One more. If sent to a mobile user, will it also indicate the status? So if you send fill and send, if you let me make this comment, a fill and send or a form link or a dispatch to email does not have to be opened up on a desktop. When you email a form to somebody and they take their tablet or their phone and they open up that document, it will open up in what we call paper mode. And on a mobile phone, it will stretch to fit the entire screen. So for the most part, it will look just like a doForm on a phone or on a tablet. On a desktop where you have, let's say, a 27-inch screen, we use what we call paper mode so that it appears as a paper form centered in your window on your screen as opposed to everything just being stretched out 27 inches wide.
Yep. And also to expand on that, so when you're filling out a fill and send form, it does also have status updates. It's not as robust as dispatch to email because dispatch to email allows you to use custom statuses as well, but you will get that it was opened and that it was completed and the times associated with those as well for your fill and send forms. So regardless of if they open it on a mobile or a desktop, you still get those statuses.
Right, and the next generation, our goal is to tell you how long they spent in the form between opened and completed and whether they left it or not.
Yeah, this is a follow-up here.
So no additional need for outside electronic signature system then? Absolutely not. People are using this around the world today. Do you have to have a dispatch license to do fill and send? No, the reason that we did fill and send was so that people that don't have a dispatch license can still have the functionality of filling out a form and sending it to an email address. The dispatch functionality gives you the calendaring and some of the other capabilities like, tracking and the forwarding features. So with fill and send, it's right in your view data tab. Anthony's kind of showing you right there. You just click on fill and send. It'll basically allow you to open up a form, and it'll give you the options for emailing that form. Our estimates are a simple Excel spreadsheet. When push our doForms job sheets is sent to our employees in the field, can we attach a copy of the estimate to our guys in the field? So basically, what you may be asking is, let me go to the next option, which is form links, and explain to you the difference between, let's say, fill and send and a form link. So fill and send allows you to basically fill out a form and effectively email it to somebody with information filled out. If you have, let's say, a form that you want to have other people open, you could do what we call form links. Now, form links, and go, Anthony, just go to the screen and we'll show you how to do this. When you go to manage, you'll see something called form links. You'll actually also see it in your view data tab. But when you click on form links, you pick the form. So in this case, you have an event registration form. You would click on view, and you'll see that form links will actually give you the URL that you would need to pass to your customer or make a hyperlink into something. So if Anthony just click on a new tab, put that form link in, and you'll see that that form basically opens up for Anthony right in his, and this is just an event registration form. So my daughter actually uses doForms. She works for a company that holds or hosts large conferences for the healthcare industry. And what they do is they actually create this type of form where they tell you about the hotel. They actually show you pictures of it the other way. They show you like pictures of the hotel, the map of where it is, check in, all the information. And what's nice about form links is you could send this form to 10,000 people for free, and you only pay a credit for everybody that submits the form back. So they could have 1,000 forms go out to people they're hoping will register for their event, and yet if only 100 people register, they're only paying a credit per that 100 people that register. By the way, if I don't answer your question or my answer didn't solve the question you were trying to solve, feel free to email us or just give me a call, and I'd be happy to go through it with you in more detail. What is the additional cost for dispatch, or does it depend? So doForms today has two models. We have doForms Professional, which is either $9.95 a month or $99.95 a year, and doForms Dispatch is $14.95 a month or $149.95 a year. And when you move up to the Dispatch product, you basically get the dispatch scheduler, you get the ability to forward jobs, you get real-time GPS tracking, you get the ability to retrieve forms back, you get the ability to forward to. So there's a huge number of workflow features that you get when you move up to the dispatch product above and beyond just dispatch. And GPS tracking, you can actually GPS track right on your device. So your tablet, your wireless tablet or your wireless mobile phone, what will happen is GPS tracking is actually state driven, so it can detect when you're moving, it can detect when you're stopped. You can also configure GPS not to track people on weekends or weeknights. So you could set up GPS tracking to basically monitor where your people are just by using the dispatch functionality. And it's very accurate. Believe it or not, the mobile devices today, cell phones and tablets are about 20 times more powerful than the average GPS tracking device that somebody would put in a truck that has a small CPU, not a lot of memory. It's kind of restricted underneath the dashboard, where in most of these devices today, there's things like quad processors and math coprocessors and high dollar GPS transceivers. So it actually does work very well. Okay, let's move. So you saw form links. So with form links, literally, give you some examples. My daughter uses it for her event registration. We have companies that will place ads to hire people, and they'll put an employment application embedded into their form as a hyperlink. Any place you could put a hyperlink, a Word document, an Excel document, right into your PowerPoint. You could literally build a PowerPoint presentation and put a hyperlink to a form right in your PowerPoint presentation. So anywhere you could put a hyperlink, it will work. What is doForms tracking, the form or the device? When you're using tracking, when you buy dispatch and you you set your device up for tracking, you're actually tracking the device. So it's independent of the form. You don't have to even have doForms loaded. It loads in background mode if you set up tracking, and it will track even if doForms is not opened on your tablet or your smartphone. As far as tracking the form, that's when you're actually embedding GPS location widgets right into your form for things like, arriving at locations, or, documenting that the signature was taken at a particular address. But tracking will actually work outside of your form.
Yep, and also with the tracking, if you have the location fields embedded in your forms, when you're looking at the tracking map, when your mobile employee has completed their forms, on the tracking map that has the breadcrumb trail of where they started, where they ended, you actually get a little form icon, so you can click on that and see what that employee did at a specific location.
Right, so unlike traditional tracking that can kind of tell you that they drove up to Garden State Parkway and then they stopped and they didn't idle for 20 minutes, doForms could actually add to that map the form that tells you while they were there, they fixed an appliance, they generated $1,000 in revenue, and they got a signature. How many dispatchers can you assign? So the number of dispatchers is unlimited. It's just that you pay per dispatcher. It's $4.95 a month per dispatcher, or $49.95 a year per dispatcher.
Yep, and when you're setting up these users, there's all different types of roles in doForms. So we have, like, for instance, a data manager, a dispatcher, a form builder. So when you purchase a web user, you just give them the dispatcher role, and then they have access to all the dispatching capabilities. But the answer is unlimited. It's however many you need.
But you can also effectively restrict what each dispatcher can see. Hey, Jolie, how are you? Jolie is actually one of our long time customers, and I'm happy to see her on the webinar today. Yeah, so you could send as many dispatchers as you want. You can restrict them. So you could say, this dispatcher only sees jobs in the north. This dispatcher only sees this mobile work group. This dispatcher can only see jobs sent to this particular device. So there's a lot of structure around how you could manage what dispatchers can do. Let's see. Let's jump over to the PowerPoint. What's next here? So let's talk a little bit about embedded forms. One of the things you'll start to see is that doForms is actually starting to embed, we're eating our own lunch, so to speak. So you'll see now that you can, just that page that we showed you for form links where you could go and say, hey, give me a form link. Go back to that. You could also see we have all the source code that you'll need for embedding doForms as a frame or as a web directly into your website. So all you would need to do is hand this to your website builder, or if you're using a website builder, just take this code and plop it right onto some action button, or however you want to do it. And we're going to give you a little bit of an example. Go to the Power Golf. So this is just an example of a website, and if you scroll down, you'll see it says sign up now, and this is actually nothing more than a doForm with actually the embedded ProPay support. And you'll see, if you click here to pay, pick something, you'll see that it allows the customer to open up the credit card payment window. You don't have to have credit card payment in your form. You could just have a form. But in this particular case, this customer was able to use doForms to create an order form and also take payment. So just cancel out of this, because I don't want you to put your credit card number in front of 30 other people or 100 other people. So at the end of the day, you can easily embed doForms right into your website. Now, why is that important? Let's talk about that a little bit. Well, many of you may know that we have a functionality that allows you to use forms as a data source into other forms. So do we have questions here?
Nope.
No. Okay, good. So because you can use forms as data sources into other forms, let's say you had a form that effectively collected information from your customers, and then when you sent your salespeople out to talk to those customers, you wanted them to have access to all of that information. Well, you could basically have your customers come to the website, fill out that information, and then you could take all of their data and make it available as a data source into a salesperson's form. Let's say you did the event registration form right here embedded into your website. Well, you could have all your customers come here, basically sign up and register for your event right in the website, and then on the day of the event, you could have a form called Event Day Form, and basically all of the sign-up people would be in that data source. So when I show up at your event and I give you my name, you would put in my name and then the fact that I was the CEO of a company and which company and where I was located and why I interested in being here would all populate on your event day form. And at that point, I could document that you actually showed up at the event and what time you showed up. So by being able to embed doForms right into your own websites, you're effectively giving your customers the ability to participate in your data capture experience. Any questions? Nope, we look good. So now we're going to jump to, how are we doing on time?
Still good.
Still good. We're going to jump to the report writer. Now, the report writer is a very, very powerful feature. It's not going to give you the ability to take any form in the world that you wrote and write a report. There's a little bit of structure to it. You have to have a little bit of control when you're building your form that you want to put into this, because it has to kind of fit into the model of filters, group bys, and the data that's going to appear in your form. So in this particular case, it's a weekly timesheet report. So the form basically that was feeding this, and it can have a ton of other data in it. It's just that when you're pulling the report part of that form out, you need to make sure that you have the right information. So in this particular case, we have a report date. So the form has a date in it. It's very important because when you're building reports, we have to reference a particular date so that we don't just report, on every form you've ever submitted in your lifetime. So dates are important when you're building your forms. It has group by. So in this particular case, there's a group by supervisor and there's a group by region, and then there's a group by job. So in this particular case, the report is able to, as it's building its data, is able to first group by Anthony being the supervisor, then the region, and then the jobs he are in. So if he had multiple jobs, you would see multiple jobs in this particular screen. And then the body of the form allows you to put in information that will be painted across your form. Just like if anybody's ever used, let's say, Crystal Reports or Access or any of those particular reporting tools, the metaphor of the report writer is very consistent with that metaphor. And then you can put in things like footers. So if you notice where he has total, there's a footer there. You can add footers. You can add sums, so you can count the number of rows in a column. There's a number of different things you can do in the report builder to add headers and footers actually in the report. And you can actually custom add headers and footers on the top. So you could add headers and footers to your sections as well as a header and footer to your ultimate report. So in this particular case, we picked putting in a doForms logo, a heading, and then a page number. And then obviously on the bottom, we replicated the page number and we put in the date. Now, what makes this form very powerful is with this report, when you build this report, because you can use, you don't, if you build your data correctly, you don't build this report to look for a specific date range. You set this report up to look for, let's say as an example, last week, last month, the last N days. So therefore, when you set this report up to email you every Monday for the last N days or every Monday for the last week, the report will run every Monday and it will always give you the consolidated data for forms that satisfy the criteria of being sent in last week. So with this report builder, not only do you have the ability to build these consolidated reports, not only do you have the ability to sort them and group them and filter them any way you'd like, but you also have the ability to schedule them to be emailed to multiple people. And you could bring that up, Anthony. You have the ability to schedule them to multiple people and have them automatically get those emails every week, every day, however you set up the schedule. So Anthony's kind of just showing you a typical report. He's got some report data, an email schedule, and Anthony, is there more you wanted to show them?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to touch on here is that you can, so each report is a credit, but you could send this report to 100 people for effectively 1 credit. So you can see here that I emailed this to myself, but let's say I wanted to add John in here or add some other doForms people. So this report, once it was generated, it could send out to 50 people, but I'm only being charged a 1 credit to actually create the report.
When the email is sent. So if you set this email up, this report up to email once a month to your management team, you basically get charged 12 credits over the year. It would charge you a credit each month that it emails this report for you. But like Anthony said, you could email it to 50 people if you'd like.
Yep, and David asked the question of, do you still require credits to use the report writer? Is that included in your license? So we do still require credits for here, but like John said, it's a credit per report when the email gets sent out. So if you're doing weekly, it would be 52 credits. If you're doing monthly, it would be 12. And we give you 10 credits out of the gate when you sign up for doForms. And then a little bit later we'll go over the credit packages, but it's very, very cheap to buy credits.
Just so everybody understands, the goal with the credits was not to make money on this feature. When you build these reports, you're basically doing tons and tons of reads against the cloud server, and that has a cost associated to it. So the credit really is there just to cover doForms' costs for all the additional reads that you guys are doing when you run these reports. The reason that we went to the credit model versus making this a paid-for service is it really gives you the ability to try it out of the box. We give you 10 credits. You could use it as much or as little as you'd like. For some people that want to do a report that goes out, let's say once a week, it's 52 credits. You're probably looking at, $20 or something over a year to use this. So rather than trying to come out and say, hey, for $2,000 you can get the doForms report builder, we decided to make it something that was very affordable and very attractive. And once again, literally just to cover the cost of the additional reads that you're doing against the database up in the cloud, which we get charged for each time you do these reads.
Good on questions there. We can actually go into pricing now.
Yep. So the pricing, the way we did this is you're basically buying, your form credits in a bundle. So we're not looking to hit your credit card for 20 cents every time you send a form out. And you'll see that you can buy basically 100 credits for $35, which is about 35 cents a credit, all the way down to 5,000 credits for $1,000, which is 20 cents a credit. So if you think about this, you could send out, literally 5,000 dispatches, or 2,500 dispatches to your customer base just by being able to use, these credit models. So it's definitely an affordable model.
You can send this PowerPoint to us.
Absolutely. So we will send this PowerPoint out to this distribution.
I may even be able to upload it into the webinar here as a handout.
Okay. Anthony's going to see if he can upload it into the webinar, so we'll make that happen. If for any reason you don't get the PowerPoint and you'd like it, please just email me or Anthony. And Anthony, can you put your email address in there? Just email Anthony and he'll get you whatever you need. And basically, for those of you who haven't taken advantage of our support individuals, we have people on support that are there to, pick up your chats. If you want to stop the chat and have them call you or you call them, that's possible. We have mobile solutions consultants that are here to help you. We build forms for, in many cases, $99 a form. So you have the full support of doForms behind you. We try not to make building forms an obstacle for you. So remember, there's always a real person at doForms. There's always somebody to reach out to, and there's always somebody to help you. And we're probably one of the few companies where the CEO's name, and you could call up and ask for John D'Arienzo. And if I can, I will take your call because it is important for me to get your feedback. I make a lot of the decisions on what features get into the product. And to be honest with you, I make a lot of those decisions based on the fact that I talk to many of you. And I'm sure Jolie would back me up on that.
So Erica, the PowerPoint is, I just uploaded it into the webinar in the handouts section, so you should be able to download it out of there. If for whatever reason you can't, I put my email address in the chat. Please send me an email and I can send it to you directly, or if anybody has any questions or anything like that, you could also send that to my email as well. So we have another question here. Can I have coworkers attend tomorrow's session? If so, how do I register them? So yes, you can. There is another webinar. We're going to be going over the same content as we did today. All you have to do is, when in the emails that you've been getting, basically telling you about the webinar, when you go to register, there is a little drop down that says date, and there was an option for today and an option for tomorrow.
So did they just forward the email they received to their coworker?
Yeah, they can forward that email over, or if you want me to send it to them directly, I could send you a link. Once again, just shoot me an email and I'll email you directly the sign up link, and then you can forward it to as many people as you want. One more question. Do you offer a service for report writing as well? So
Absolutely. I mean, doForms people are here to help you with building reports, building templates, using the Excel plugin. I mean, any area of doForms where you feel you need assistance, we're willing to help. In some cases, if you want, we can build, and you can pay us. We can build your reports. Once again, doForms tries not make the cost of anything be prohibitive. We're happy that you're signing up for the service, and we work every day to keep your business. So we want you being able to use this, and we want this to bring value to you. With regards to printing any of the doForms documents, can printing preferences be edited? Are you talking about printing because you're using the browser version of doForms? Or are you talking about the report printing?
Well, I could say this, Yolanda, is that with you have full control over, in terms of content, what is going to be printed. So in terms of that, there's all types of settings saying, include this field, don't include this field, when you actually bring up the PDF for the document that you want to print. With that said, you can also take advantage of, whatever printer you have the settings. So if you want to print in landscape, or you want to change the margins, or you want to do anything like that, it's not managed in doForms, but you can use the full printer functionality of those settings, black and white, color, all things like that, to meet your printing needs. Yeah, so printing the PDF document, can the margins be edited? Yeah, so as long as you have a printer or a printer program that allows you to change those things, it's not really managed through us. We're just supplying the PDF. It's kind of, once you have that PDF, whatever your printer allows you to do, you can use any of those settings.
And once again, if we haven't answered your question, correctly or enough depth, please pick up the phone and just give me or Anthony or anybody here, get on chat with the support people, and we'll make sure your answers get to you. Is there printing the PDF document? Can the margins be edited?
Yes, this is the follow-up question. We just answered that.
Okay. Yep. So yes, if you're using the print manager of the browser, your margins can be edited. And at this point, we've concluded the presentation. We'll give a few more minutes or a few more seconds or whatever to ask any questions. So if you guys want to get some last questions in, we'll be happy to answer them. And please try it. doForms is there. We give you 10 credits so that you can try it out. We want you to try it. We want you to experience it. If you need help building a report, let us know. And it's really easy to ask for your form links. Just build a form and go to manage form links and get all the information you need. Back to dispatch to email. Okay?
I think a follow-up question is coming here. But while we wait for this follow-up question, I just put another email address into the chat, which is feedback@doforms.com. So like John was saying earlier, we really rely on our customers to give us feedback on features that they're struggling with, or they want to add to our system. So if anybody has any suggestions, or you would like to see any functionality that we don't currently have, you can send an email to feedback@doforms.com, documenting what you would like to see. And like John said, a lot of times these items that we get in from our customers make it onto our developer list. So feel free to send us any new functionality or features that you'd like to see.
Can the recording of this webinar be made available?
It will be, yes.
The plan is to make it available on our website. It may be too large actually probably will be too large to actually email individually. If somebody really needs it, maybe we can make it available like on a Dropbox or something, but the plan is to make it available on our website.
Especially.
When they complete the form and submit, can it go through web services to our website? Absolutely. When you're sending an email, once they open up that form, it's no different than a normal doForm. So when they submit it, it's going, the cloud doesn't know that it was done by email. The cloud doesn't really care. It just knows that it has another form in there. So any of the automated emails, access to web services, access to that form through Sync and Save, the Excel plugin will see it. It's just as if it was a normal form.
So dispatch email, is there a time limit for the form? Can the form be completed over a week or a month?
Well, currently today, there's no ability to save the form and reopen the form. So, if you're looking to do dispatch to email, you're really, expecting that person to open the form and do the, fill it out and send it back to you.
The link, on the other hand, though, will be active for a week or a month.
Right, they can have the link. So if you put in the email, hey, I need you to go to Mrs. Smith's house on a Sunday at 10 o'clock, they could look at the link as often as they want, but when they actually open the form and submit it, they're doing that within that section.
Are there any report templates anywhere we can use to customize for our needs? So with the report builder, it's form specific, so there isn't really any templates, but our mobile form consultants or support would be more than willing to look at your form and give you a suggestion for how you should build a report for your specific form.
With that said, Anthony has already built timesheets and revenue reporting forms and report templates. So as an example, if you would like Anthony to provide you with the form that he built, that was the basis of the timesheet report that he created, he'd be more than happy to give you that form as well as that report template for you to use.
Where do we send our reports for suggestions? So for suggestions for the mobile application and to build forms, where do we send our reports to build reports for suggestions to build forms? So not a problem. So if you have suggestions for new functionality or new form building capabilities or things like that, you can send it to feedback@doforms.com, which basically tags all the developers.
And by the way, I read all the doForms feedback emails.
Yep, and if you have something specific in terms of like a suggestion for your specific form or a report that you're trying to build, you could email me. You could also go on our live chat and get on with the support. You could give us a call and talk to support, or if you have a mobile forms consultant, you can consult with them, and they'll be able to help you as well.
Hopefully you'll all have noticed that we're one of the few companies that doesn't try to hide our phone number and doesn't try to hide our office addresses, and we're here for you. There's multiple ways to get help from us. There's multiple ways to reach out to us. If you're ever having a difficult time communicating with doForms, pick up the phone and ask for me.
Yep, so we have another question. Do you have any doForms tutorials on YouTube, or is it on the doForms website? So we do have a YouTube channel with a bunch of videos. John and myself are actually in the process of adding some updated videos. And our goal here is to kind of have shorter videos that kind of get to the point of a specific topic instead of a broad overview of a lot of topics. So you should see in the next couple of weeks more updated videos, but as of right now, there is a few tutorials on our YouTube channel.
In addition to that, if you're part of a company and you have a number of employees that want to learn how to use doForms, just call us up and we could schedule a one-on-one training webinar for you guys. We do it all the time. You could have as many people as you want on it. We will go through and answer all your questions. We'll show you how to build great forms. There's a number of really cool features in doForms that may not be as obvious to the beginner, like being able to make tables into checklists and being able to use things like the if-then-else statements and hiding fields and the combination of some of those things, where we could show you how to very easily do some really cool things with doForms. And we are trying to follow those up with how-to videos and different other things. But once again, just contact us and we have no problem doing a one-on-one webinar for your company.
All right. It doesn't look like we have any more questions at the moment. So just to reiterate, send myself or John an email if you guys need, if you weren't able to download this PowerPoint, or if you want me to send you the link to sign up for tomorrow's webinar for your coworkers or whoever else you need. Feel free to email us with anything that you need or any questions, comments, or anything like that. So I believe that's all we got.
Well, unless we have any more questions, I believe we are complete with the webinar, but we have another one. Let's see.
Will there be a Windows app in the future?
There is currently no plan to build a native Windows app. The customers that we have using things like Surface Pros today are all using what we call the web client. So many of you may not know, but if you type in mydoforms.com/web client, you actually get the same exact experience on your web environment as you do in your mobile environment. So projects that you set up for people, icons that you set up for people. Anthony's actually going to show you that here. But your people would log in with their same mobile ID and PIN and go ahead and sign in. And what you'll see is that they're going to get the mobile menu just like they would see on their mobile device. So unlike sending them a form link or sending them something, they get the same exact experience only through the browser. So there's some negatives to that. in that, you're kind of working on the browser, you need your internet connection. There's some additional features that make this very powerful, like you can print. So a lot of customers that want to be able to leave a receipt behind will utilize, let's say, a Surface Pro and the doForms web client, because then they can use the print capability to leave a copy of the receipt with the customer by printing to like a mobile HP, Bluetooth, or Wi-Fi type printer. But right now there are no plans for a Windows version. Windows phones have pretty much dropped off the surface of the earth. There's just not enough demand for us to do it right now. And the problem with the Windows on all these different tablets is you just get too wide an array of peripheral support and all these other things that make it very difficult to do. And with that, we got a thanks, great presentation. Thank you for that sign of confidence there. We appreciate your feedback. Just so you know, we love it too when you guys call us up and tell us how you're using doForms and how you're able to be successful with it. We work really hard here, and those comments that we get from you really go a long way to make us work even harder and want to give you guys even better features and more features in the future. So with that said, I'm going to end the river. We got another one. Good. Keep them coming. I'll see them all day long. But once again, feel free to give us a call, even if you just want to call us and tell us how happy you are, or just tell us how you're using doForms. We'd love to hear how you're using doForms. So with that, I'm going to let Anthony hit the exit button, and I want all you guys to have a great day and continue building forms. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.